Hey guys, in one of my last videos, I was talking about how I don't totally agree with the whole idea that we choose partners according to what we think we deserve. I think that is part of the story for sure, but I think that there is more to the story than that. And I thought, hey, why don't I create a video to share with you what my motivations were for partnership, romantic partnership over the years? I'm going to take this from three different kind of perspectives because one is what I think I consciously chose in partnership, what my motivations were consciously. The other is what subconsciously I later realized was driving those choices. And the third will overlap with the other two, but what I think the universe, or why I think the universe brought me this partnership, which might have a deeper significance to it and definitely took me a lot of time to see years later. So I'm going to start with I definitely was motivated by this idea of love being dramatic or like a bit of a chase or a bit of a like kind of painful, but worth it in the end. And I blame social media, or maybe back then it wasn't really social media, it was movies and soap operas. I didn't have a model for amazing relationships in my real life around me. So when I would watch soap operas and TV shows and movies, I didn't realize that like I was actually taking in this idea that love hurts and you have to fight for it and you have to go after it, and it can be really painful, and maybe the other person doesn't really want you, but you could get them to see why you would be a good partnership. And behind that was a lot of this idea that opposites attract. So opposites on soap operas was very big. I remember in particular Steve or Patch and Kayla on Days of Our Lives. He was like this, kind of guy that was rough and actually wore a patch, and he had some scars. He was like very like bad boy, but like just off this, lived, I don't want to say off the streets, but he was definitely had a rough upbringing. Whereas Kayla was like this beautiful blonde woman who just oozed like softness and love and just wanted to give love. And I could really resonate with the way that she was, because she could see the goodness in Patch, in Steve, and she wanted to give him love, and he obviously was protective of her and wanted to take care of her, but he just didn't think that they were a good combination. So he would sometimes like be really caring to her and then leave and not really be there, and he just didn't think that he deserved her, but he was still there and she was still wanting to figure out how this could work. And I think that I did that sometimes in my early years of dating. I was like, okay, this person is showing some interest in me and they obviously are attracted to me, or they want, something to happen here. And if people on the outside are saying we're not the right match, or, down on paper, it looks like a completely ridiculous match, I was always like, yeah, but love can fix things. Love can make things better. Love can, so if we just worked it out and loved each other, that was enough. And I think my motivation in the early years was really that love is enough. And I had some amazing experiences with people in my first relationships where it was very romantic, like love letters written on not just paper, but in calligraphy with like parchment kind of paper. There was lots of castle type associations, music, poetry. Um, yeah, just like being that movie kind of love. And I really genuinely thought that that is what love was. And when I say that, I want to also say that it's not that I don't think that's what love is now. I think that's part of it. But there were other factors that were needed, right? Compatibility, um, making sure that we were on the same page of what it is that we actually wanted in a relationship. But we were young, so that was another motivator for me, was that I was young. These, this person or relationship that I was in, that person was also young, and we were learning about ourselves and about the world. And what motivated me a lot during those times is that these people that had very different lives from me, very different upbringings, very different education, very different backgrounds as far as like race or ethnicity, or I loved that. I mean, I was born and brought up in Vancouver, Canada, and there's so much diversity here. I wanted to learn from other cultures and other experiences. And as a young person, I was still trying to get to know the world. And it seemed like such an amazing, fun, beautiful thing to be in partnership with someone that could teach me about things that I hadn't experienced yet or was not my lifestyle. So I loved this idea of opposites attract. If any of you guys are into old school R&B music, oh my God, Paula Abdul's song Opposites Attract still gives me goosebumps, because I love the idea of like, you're this way, I'm this way. People didn't think that we would work, but we totally did, because opposites attract, because it's yin and yang. It sort of made me like, gave me a taste of masculine and feminine energy coming together, working together. But back then, I didn't know that there's like healthy masculine and healthy feminine, and there can also be a lot of toxicity that drives that, right? So I loved this idea of opposites attract. I actually felt very not romantically attracted to guys that were of my culture or my same upbringing. I used to make jokes that it felt incestuous. At the time, it was funny, and it just felt like, yeah, there's something about that we're so similar that it doesn't fit. But later I realized that it's actually because I also didn't resonate with some of the thinking patterns and the treatment of women in some of those cultural upbringings. Like, it didn't make me feel attracted to that person. Like, I felt like it was very family and almost like a cousin, when I was, thinking that, oh, maybe this person could be a romantic fit, or people would try to fix me up with people of my culture or religion, and it just didn't work for me. But it took me much later to realize that it wasn't because they were the same culture and ethnicity as me, or grew up in the same, religious background or that kind of thing. It was actually because our ways of thinking about relationship and romantic relationships was not in line. Another thing that really drove me was that I was in sciences when I was in university. I was very practical. It was a big thing in our culture to be very like um, studious and, academic. And that seemed to be associated more with sciences, and to have a job that is more practical and will sustain you later in life seemed to be like this push towards medicine or law, or you either are a doctor or something to do with healthcare or something to do with finances. But it was very yeah, I would say more practical in science. And so I was in sciences, and I was doing it. I was okay at it. It made sense to me because it was practical, and there's like a right or wrong answer to a math equation, or, everything was very set out and structured. But there was an artist in me that was crying out deep down inside, and I didn't know. This is like the subconscious part of it, was that I didn't know that I was craving to let out my artistry and to connect with the artist in me. And I believe that we're all artists. So I was very attracted to guys that were in their artistry. Like either they were actually artists in some way, they were studying it, they were just doing it, they were like as a hobby, or they were actually in their personality, they were just very expressive and had no fear in like just being free and letting go, and getting up on stage and singing, um, or being silly and like being comedic in front of people. And I was attracted to a lot of those personalities. And at the time, I thought that it made me attracted to that person. And so partnership with them became really fun and gave me, again, this other world that was so far from what I had experienced personally. But it took me years later to realize that it was because I was scared and didn't know how to tap into my artistry. And these people gave me, I thought that they were like by osmosis, I would somehow be able to become an artist or like let my artistry out. But instead, I ended up actually becoming resentful that they would continue to be free and, just exploring and all of that. And I had to become more structured and more practical than even before, because someone needed to be. The other thing that motivated my partnerships was that when I was in these relationships that didn't work out, and I had voices in my head from family, friends, society, culture, like social gatherings, whatever, or just seeing my friends be in relationships that really worked out, I started thinking that maybe I need to be open to the kind of person that I would not normally go for. And I think that was healthy in a way, to experiment, to see like maybe I'm closing myself off from someone that really could be a great fit for me. But it became unhealthy in terms of I was trying to fit myself into relationships that really were not me. And I am not those friends or family members that those type of relationships worked for. I am a very different person. So it became unhealthy because I was not attracted to these people. I wasn't enjoying myself. I thought, okay, well, this is safe and it's, what everybody else is doing and what everybody else wants from me, but it ended up totally being wrong for me. Nowadays, safety is huge for me. Like, I find that so attractive. If I'm around someone and I feel safe, then I can really let go and be free and be expressive and be myself and feel cared for and respected. But that's a different kind of safe than what I was feeling in the past that didn't inspire me. It was like the safety of being in the confines of what other people think you should be in, if that makes sense. And that just didn't inspire me. It didn't get me excited about love. It took me so far away from the romantic, like, love letters written in calligraphy, what I, initially thought and got excited about love with. Like, I was like, how did I get so far to this point where it's not fun anymore? And this seems like, what is the point of being in a relationship? Like, this is kind of it just doesn't excite me, and it doesn't enliven me. And I think that there was a part of me that started hearing people say, like, that's what happens when you grow up. You're adulting. And when you're adult, life is not like, rainbows and roses and whatever. But actually, I feel sorry for those people that would say things like that, because I actually disagree with that. Going so far into practical and so safe and like not having any enlivening relationship really taught me that that's also definitely not love for me. So that motivated me to be conscious of the fact that I believe you can have both. And I believe that both can work really well together if you are looking for the right combinations, and I want to be with someone that I feel safe with, but that I also can be like, crazy and fun and be inspired by. And I had to learn how to decide what it is that I wanted for myself. But then there's the other aspect, right? The universe brings us people in our lives. I truly believe that, to teach us something that maybe we otherwise couldn't have learned in the same way. I had people in my life that were very, like, disloyal to me, like, were manipulating me, were kind of definitely they could see that I was very compassionate and forgiving, and they used that to their advantage, because they weren't really looking for something as serious as I was, but they were pretending to. But what the universe was teaching me in those lessons was that I have a choice. I have a choice to make sure I look at the person fully, not just what I want them to be, but who they really are. And the universe was trying to show me how to, like, have good boundaries and how to have that respect for myself first, so that I make a good choice. So in that sense, I do believe that there is an aspect of we choose partners according to what we think we deserve. And it's not that I thought I didn't deserve a good partnership. It's that I thought that giving up my needs was somehow loving. Like, that if I gave up all the things, or some of the things that I wanted for this person who I thought cared for me and loved me, I could just make them, change them, or make love still be so powerful that it would work. But again, I was being taken into this idea that love should be painful, or love is a struggle, or love is, um, it's compromising yourself. And what I've come to terms with and really excited about is that love doesn't need to hurt. And it doesn't mean compromising yourself. It doesn't mean betraying yourself. And I was betraying myself, and the universe wanted to teach me and show me that I was betraying myself, not so that I would get down on myself and think like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? But to empower myself and say, oh my God, I have a choice in this. I can choose to still be a loving person and let this relationship go, because someone who loves me would not be okay with betraying with me betraying myself. I was attracting people that were betraying my trust because I was betraying my trust in myself. And I really honestly believe that those people were brought into my life so that I could start honoring myself more and realizing what I do deserve, and realizing that just because I don't choose to end up with those people doesn't mean that it doesn't make me less loving. It doesn't make it that I didn't try in that relationship. It means that I've learned and grown to the point that I make sure that I put myself first, because someone who really loves me would put me first as well. So that's some of my journey and my motivations behind why I chose different partnerships. Let me know if you can relate to some of this, if you have other areas that I haven't covered. Obviously there's physical attraction, and if you have a certain type, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon.